Okay, I'm gonna do programming example that's not actually in the book. So this is the first time I'm gonna do an example out of the book, and I'm gonna do it right off the bat, like starting from scratch, so that you can see my thought process while I'm building this program, so that you can try and emulate it while building your own project. But anyways, so this program is a GPA calculator. So what it does is basically it allows the user to input letter grades, and it displays the entered grades in a list box, and it shows the computed GPA once the user is done entering grades. And to keep the program simple, it assumes that all the courses for which the user is inputting grades are 3 credit hour courses. Okay, so all right, let's get to actually programming the thing. So new project. Let me name it to GPA calculator. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna name this form something else. I mean, I generally name the form which I have main form, and its text is going to say GPA calculator. There you go. First thing I'm gonna do about controls is I'm gonna add a list box. I'm going to add a two buttons, a label, and another label. Since I know what I'm doing, I know what exactly I need. Okay, this label is going to say enter grades. This is going to be named as output label, and initially and here I'm gonna actually output the total grade, total GPA. So but initially it should say enter the um, enter the grades to begin. This is the main button for this program, enter grade button. So once the user enters this or clicks this button, then stuff happens. So and this I'm naming enter button, and this is the exit button as usual. Okay, so let's align this properly so that it looks good, or at least better than it used to. um, Before writing the code, I'm gonna choose the accept and the cancel buttons, or the default buttons, I guess. So the accept button is going to be the enter button, and the cancel button is going to be the exit button. Since there are only a few controls here, I'm not gonna assign tab orders or access keys. This is too simple for that. So let's start programming the code. Here the main program is for the enter button. So I want the user to, when they click this button, I want a input box to show up where it asks for a grade, and then the user should keep on entering grades, and that will be listed in the list box, and finally once they're done entering grades and then hit the cancel button, all the grades will be listed here, and this label should say what the GPA is and how many total credit hours it was actually entered. Now I notice a small glitch here, this double quotes at the end, which does not need to be there. Okay, so I'm gonna define some variables, a string called user input. I would want to know the total points being entered, and that is going to be an integer, because points are going to be either for an A, it's going to be 4, B, 3, C, 2, and D, 1. Total hours as integer, and that's the total number of hours entered basically, and assuming that each subject has 3 credit hours. Calculated GPA as decimal, and this is going to be my final output value, the calculated GPA. Now so after defining all these variables, I want to run a loop where I want to show the where I want to start an input box. I want to show an input box where the user will input a grade, and that grade should be assigned to user input. So my code for that is user input is equals to input box. This we learned today. Enter in a letter grade or press cancel to finish. So this is the prompt for the input box. The title is going to be enter grade, and the default value for the text box is going to be empty. So whatever the grade the user inputs will be assigned to user input. Now I want to check the grade entered, and depending on if it's A, B, C, or D, or F, I want to update the total points with the equivalent number for that grade. So if it's an F, I want to add 4 to total points. If it's add 0. If it's a D, I want to add 1. If it's a C, I want to add 2, B 3, and A 4. So I want to do a case structure for that. So this basically scans the user input variable, and if that is A, then my total points is equals to total points plus 4 times 3. So this is the grade for A, or the points for A, and my total points is being multiplied by 3 because that's the credit hours for that subject. So here I'm updating total points with the total credit hours obtained due to that grade. Now the thing is, this can be done in a much more shorthand fashion. So if you want to update some number with some constant number, instead of doing that, you can just do this. It's the same idea. Similarly, for case B, total points is going to plus equals to 3 times 3. case C, total points equals to 2 times 3. Case D, total points equals to 1 times 3. And case F, total points equals to 0. Nothing added. Now there's another case. What if the user does not input anything, like any of these grades, and instead they basically enter something like RS or some number which the program does not expect. So what do we do for that? We need to check for that. So if that is something else, then message box, there should be a message box which just says that invalid letter grade, that grade is invalid, so I'm assuming 0 credit, and nothing is added to total points. So that's basically message box dot show invalid letter grade, assume 0 credit. That's the prompt, that's the text of the letter box. Now all these are case sensitive, so if the user inputs a small a or small b or small c, this is not gonna run. So what I need to do is I need to automatically change the assigned input, this one, to an uppercase, so that this does not cause any problems. So I'll just do 2 uppercase here, or sorry, 2 upper. Okay, so that's the select case structure for each grade. Now I need to loop this until the user hit cancel. So that's like an empty user input. So until user input is equals to an empty string. So once the user hit cancels, this loop exits. Now I need to get the GPA, right? So to get the GPA, the calculated GPA is my answer. So calculated GPA is equals to my total points divided by total hours. Now total hours is supposed to increase by 3 every time the loop finishes, or every time someone enters a grade. So I need to have that in the loop. So total hours plus equals to 3. So every time this loops, it basically total hours increases by 3. So that's done. Now what if the user does not input anything? Then this total hours is 0, right? So I need to have something for that. So if total hours not equals to an empty string, I'm sorry, if user input not equals to an empty string, then run all this. So I need to cut paste uh, cut paste up to here. So all these goes inside this statement. Now I also want to have to update every grade in the list box. So for that, the grade, okay, before that I need to name this list box something else than just list box 1. I'll name this grade list box. And I don't want a selection mode for this. So I don't want the user to be able to select anything from here, so I change this to none. And now I need to update this list box with each user input. So grade list box items dot add dot user input. So every time user inputs something, that is automatically added to the list box. So we're almost there. Just a couple of things, I guess. Now I think we are done with the calculation part of the GPA. Now we need to show it. And so we need to show an output in the output label, a text. So for the letter grades shown, there are I'm showing here the number of hours. Graded for an overall GPA of this shows the GPA. And don't forget the period. So this shows the total hours right here and the total GPA. These ampersand symbols are just for concatenating or appending all these strings together. Now I need to make sure that this program does not crash if the total hours is 0. So if total hours not equals to 0, then do all this. I'm seeing a warning here. So this is not supposed to be here, it's actually supposed to be here. So I've assigned it here, and then I'm actually doing stuff with it. So I also need to have some code for the exit button, the code which we always do, me.close. Oh, sorry. No. Yes. So I think we are done with the program. Let's check if everything's working smoothly. Oh, we're not done. So it is asking for it needs to have a default property, and so let's select it. Okay. So this oh, that's the error. I was like, what's going on? This was weird. Anyway, so I think we are good. So let's enter grade A, B, C, D. Let's hit E. Says invalid letter grade. So D, A, C, B. Okay. Couple of error things we need to fix. We need to make sure this does not go on forever, and the the grade is 2.222. So we need to make sure this value does not just go on forever. So we need to shrink the width of it and make sure this is up to like 2 decimal points, not more than that. So let's exit. Let's turn off the auto size function of this and have it a certain size. Make it kind of big so that everything fits in here. And need to change this or format this so that this is up to only 2 decimal points. And that should hopefully fix everything. A, B, C, let's enter more grades. C, D, C, A, D, B, A. Okay, that's 2.43. Now another thing here is that I can make this list huge. I don't have any control on clearing this list. So I want a user to continuously enter all his grades, see it, and once he sees it, and the next user wants to use this, and so then they click this, this should go away. It shouldn't stay there. So to do that, I need to clear this each time the enter button is pressed. So, and that should go right here. So grade list box dot items dot clear. So that basically handles that. DAD. Okay. 2. Now when I hit this, goes away. Awesome. Awesome. That's so great. Oh, sorry. A, D, B, whatever. So now it's working perfectly. So that, I guess, was today's tutorial. This week's tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it.